we've got Shadow Paymaster General Jonathan Ashworth on the line. Jonathan, thank you very much for joining us on the show. Rishi Sunak's right, isn't he, when he says the Labour Party haven't been transparent when it comes to tax?
No, he's not right. In fact, he's lying about Labour's position on tax, because Labour is pretty clear, crystal clear. No increase in income tax, no increase in VAT, no increase in national insurance. And every single proposal we put forward in our manifesto this week will explain how they are costed. In contrast, today we've seen a desperate wish list, the most expensive panic in history, of commitments that Rishi Sunak cannot fund, from savings he cannot find, because the money is not there to fund any of his commitments. And that means with Rishi Sunak we'll have 5 more years of chaos, just like with Liz Truss, and people will end up paying more on their mortgage as a consequence.
Jonathan
That's the reality
Ashworth.
of today's Tory manifesto.
Do you describe the frozen tax thresholds of the last few years as Conservative tax rises?
Those are decisions that have been taken by the Conservative government, which means that working people are facing the highest tax burden since for 7 decades.
OK, let's pause there, Jonathan, because am I not right in saying that the Labour Party has committed to continue those frozen thresholds, dragging more people into higher rates of tax? If you're saying that process can be described as a tax cut when the Conservatives do it, why a tax rise when the Conservatives do it, why is it not a tax rise when the Labour Party do it?
Look, we've been very clear on tax. We're not increasing the rates of income tax, national insurance and VAT.
No, you're simply dragging people into higher bands.
Well, we are going to put the stability of the public finances first. Rishi Sunak can torch all economic credibility. We know what that means. It means wrecking the public finances like under the Conservatives and Liz Truss. It means people paying more on their mortgage. Our instinct is we want to see the tax burden on working people come down, but we are not going to put forward any proposal that is not fully costed and fully funded. That
Jonathan Ashworth,
with Rishi Sunak today, who's put forward a programme when the money is not there.
Yeah, there are a few pledges that have come from the Labour team today about how you're going to teach children how to brush their teeth. You've also got breakfast, free breakfast for every primary school child. Yep. How's all that going to be paid for?
Because we're prepared to make tough choices. We're prepared to close the non-domiciled tax loophole and use the money from that to fully close it and use the money.
How many non-doms are there, Jonathan Ashworth? How many non-doms are there?
So we think we will raise over £1 billion from that change. We're going to levy VAT on school fees. A tough decision, absolutely, but we are honest with the British public. We're not going to pretend to the British public that they can have this big, long wish list. Right, something they've not been able to deliver in 14 years, but let's leave that to one side. We're not going to pretend that you can have this wish list as long as your arm, and when there's no money there. We are going to make those tough choices, because we're not going to take GB News viewers for fools. That's what Rishi Sunak is doing. The reality of Rishi Sunak is this long wish list, this long expensive panic means that your viewers will end up paying more on their mortgage as a consequence.
You're talking of these policies as if they're sort of, I suppose, lacking in detail, and yet I've been looking through the Conservative manifesto today on the issue of housing. And on housing, they say specific areas where more housing is going to be built. There's going to be new quarters added to Leeds, Liverpool, York, along with the already announced plan for 250,000 extra homes in Cambridge. Now, added to intensification in London, that's 5 specific areas where effective new towns or intensification is going to take place. That's the Conservative proposal. The Labour Party has said it's going to build new towns, but you're not telling us where those towns will be. In fact, when we've asked your representatives time and time again, where are these new towns going to be, you say you'll start a commission. You won't decide until after the election. We don't get to know until after we've voted. That's taking the public for fools, isn't it?
Well, I've come straight from the BBC. I haven't read that particular chapter of the manifesto. I've been looking at the scorecard chapter and their fantasy spending, because the money is not there. So just help me. What does it say about planning reform in that chapter? I've not
Well,
seen
it says it wants to abolish
Are they
the
gonna-
EU. It says it wants to abolish the EU neutrality rules to unlock over 100,000 homes. Incidentally, they're going to build
Tories gonna
100,000
reform
more
planning? 'Cause
homes
we
than the
know-
Labour Party, according to this manifesto.
But are they going to reform planning? Are they going to reform planning? Because this is quite important, because as you know,
Yes.
Tom, because you've reported on it a lot, the Tory MPs who get re-elected to this place always block planning. But if it's in their manifesto, they'd be under an obligation.
They certainly would be. And Jonathan Ashworth, what they say on this is, to my mind, remarkably similar to what the Labour Party is saying. You're saying new towns built with development corporations.
Are they talking about planning reform?
The Labour Party describes its planning reform as building new towns with development corporations, overriding those local rules. Now, the Conservatives have announced, in the same way they've done the new quarter in Cambridge, Leeds, Liverpool and York, using the same development corporation model. Now, that could be described as planning reform.
So the Tory MPs are going to vote for planning reform. Oh, it's a pig flying. No way, they're never going to do that. You know that as well as I do, Tom. The Tories were not prepared to take the tough decisions on planning. We are. We're going to build in this country. The fact that we do not build in this country was described by the Financial Times yesterday as a disgrace and an embarrassment. The FT was right.
Thank
We're
you
going to get
so
building
much
in
for your
this
time,
country.
Jonathan. We'll have to end it there, but thank you very much indeed.